Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. I'm Becky and we're going to talk about all things books. So I'm actually really excited for this video, guys. So what I'm going to do with this video is like a mid-year book tag. So I got my book tag questions from a YouTuber that I really love, and her name is Hallie Jones. I will link her channel down below along with all of the questions if you guys want to answer these questions yourself and compare your answers to my answers. So without further ado, let's dive right in and get on with this book tag. So, jumping straight into the book tag in trying to avoid making this video far too long for you guys. So the very first question I have got is, which book has been your favourite book so far this year? Now, I am going to grab my favourite book and tell you why I've picked this particular book. So, my favourite book so far this year has been Frida McFadden's The Teacher. This book was absolutely stunning. Now, I've spoke about Frida McFadden quite a few times now on my channel, and I do plan on doing a video based on how much I love this author and how I found her, but like I said, that'll be a different video. But yeah, so far this has been one of my best reads of the year. So this is called The Teacher. For those of you who don't know Frida McFadden, she is the creator of the Housemaid series. So I'm just going to read you the back of this book so you know what The Teacher is about. So it says, Lesson 1, Trust No One. Eve has a good life. She gets up each day, gets a kiss from her husband and heads off to teach maths at the local high school, all as it should be. Except, last year, Kearsham High was rocked by a scandal, including a teacher-student affair with one student, Addie, at the centre. But Eve knows that there is much more to the ugly rumours than meets the eye. Addie can't be trusted. She lies. She hurts people. She destroys lives. At least that's what everybody says. Nobody knows the real Addie. Nobody knows the secret that could destroy her if people at the school found out. And when Eve discovers the shocking truth, Addie will do anything to keep her quiet. So that is my favourite book so far of the year. It's got a fantastic plot. And the twist at the end is brilliant. If I haven't said, Frida McFadden does like psychological thriller. There's always like a huge twist at the end of her books, and I did not see the twist coming in this one. It was absolutely fantastic. So basically you've got the back says, you've got the teacher, and you've got a student who is rumoured to have had an affair with a different teacher, and nobody really knows the truth about what happened. And when the truth finally comes out, Eve, who is one of the teachers there, she is the one that discovers the secret, and once she discovers the secret, all hell breaks loose. And I'm not going to spoil it because there might be some of you out there who haven't read this yet. I highly, highly recommend this book. I rated this book 5 stars after I read it, and I think this will be a top book of my entire year. I'm not sure that this one's going to be beaten, but yes, by far this was my favourite read of the whole year. So the second question on the book tag is new releases that you want to read that you haven't read yet. So for me, mine are the Leather and Lark and Scythe and Sparrow. Now, I can't remember when, this is the newest release and this is the second book. Now, I really, really want to get to both of these books. Obviously, this is the newer one, but I need to read this one first. And I'm dying to read both of these books. I have got and have read the first book, and the first book is called Butcher and Blackbird. Now, for all those of you who might not have heard of this book or haven't read it yet, it is gross. It is, I don't know how else to describe it. It's absolutely hilarious, but it's gross at the same time. So I'm going to give you a bit of a hint just by reading. It's got very strong trigger warnings, and I strongly suggest if you want to read this book, read the trigger warnings. I cannot say that strongly enough. Please do not read this book without reading the trigger warnings. But I'll tell you what the back of this book says. So this book says, when a chance encounter sparks an unlikely bond between rival murderers, Sloane and Rowan, the two find something elusive. A friendship of like minds, pitch black souls, stalking across the country, the two hunters collide in an annual game of blood and suffering, one that pits them against the most dangerous monster in the country. But as their friendship develops into something deeper, the restless ghosts left in their wake are only a few steps behind, ready to claim more than just their newfound romance. Can Rowan and Sloane dig themselves out of a game of graves, or have they finally met their match? Like I said, this book was fantastic. Now, I read this book last year, so the likelihood is that I'm probably going to give this one a reread before I read the next two books. But by far, this is definitely my anticipated read. Now, like I said, this one is really gross. I'm going to give you a quick hint at some of the trigger warnings. So, as much as Butcher and Blackbird is a dark romance comedy and will hopefully make you laugh through its madness, it's still dark. Please read responsibly. If you have any questions about this list, please do not hesitate to contact bryonyweaverbooks.com or on other social media platforms. I'm most active on Instagram or TikTok. So here's your trigger warnings. This is just a few of them. So we've got eyeballs and eye sockets, amateur surgery, skin ornaments, chainsaws, active knives, scalpels, and a lot more sharp objects. Accidental cannibalism. And that's just a few of them. Like I said, this book is grotesque, but at the same time, it is so funny. It's also romance as well, obviously. The two main characters in this fall in love, and it's just a great story. But yes, please do not read this book before you check the trigger warnings. It's an absolute must. And like I say, I haven't got to the next two books yet, but I am really excited to see what happens. I know that Leather and Lark is, I believe, one of the main characters from here is the brother in this one. And in this one, I'm still completely blind. I haven't read anything about it, other than I know that Sparrow is definitely someone mentioned in the first book, I believe. But yeah, this is definitely my most anticipated and wanting to get to read. So the next question is my most anticipated upcoming release for the rest of the year. Now this one is dead easy for me to answer, and it is by, no surprise, it's by Frida McFadden. She is releasing a brand new book on the 7th of October called The Intruder. I am really excited to get hands on a brand new book. This one is actually going to be a special edition because it's coming out in only hardback, which is a little bit annoying because, as you can see, my Frida books here are all paperback. So it kind of irks me a little bit when some are paperback and some are hardback, but there's nothing I can do about it. This one's just coming out as a special edition in hardback, and it's also going to have sprayed edges, so I'm excited about that. I don't know much about what the Tenant, not the Tenant, that was the last book. I don't know much about what The Intruder is, what the plot is for this book. I actually haven't read anything. When it comes to the Frida books, I love to go in blind, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I can 100% say that this is definitely my most anticipated upcoming read for 2025. Really sorry guys if this angle keeps moving around. I should have been more prepared to film this video, but I'm not. So I keep spinning around to grab the books off the shelf, and yeah, so if the angle keeps changing, that's why. I'm really sorry.
I am trying my best to get the same angle each time.
Right, so the next question is your biggest surprise. So I have seen a lot of people do this 2 ways over. Some people have done a book that they thought they would love but hated, or a book that they thought they would hate but ended up loving. So I'm actually going to do both. So first up, my biggest surprise for a book I genuinely thought I was going to love is the Twisted Tales book, and it is Reflection. Now, I automatically assumed I was going to love these books. I am a huge Disney fan. I have been a Disney fan since I was a tiny little girl, and I'm still very much an adult Disney fan. So I automatically assumed I was going to love these books. I thought it would bring me the Disney magic. I thought I would just get lost in a different version of favourite Disney stories. Now, that was definitely true when I read the Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I believe is called A Tale as Old as Time. That one I loved. I ate it up. It was such a good book. And then I went straight from that one into Reflection. And I must say, I was absolutely gutted. I was so disappointed. This book felt, I mean, it's not even that big. I mean, it is, what are we on? It's 406 pages. It's not massive. I've read much bigger books. As you can see, it's not that big. But this book took me forever to read, and I mean forever. I could not get into this book. I had to push and push. I nearly DNF'd it. I was so close to shutting it down and just thinking, I give up. But it was Disney. I wanted to power through. And by the time I got to the end of this, it was like a 2, maybe 3-star read. It just wasn't nothing that I was expecting. And it's so gut-wrenching for me because Reflection, if you don't know, it is the retelling or another version of Disney's film Mulan. Now, I love Mulan. I love the original classic film. I actually enjoyed the live-action remake. So I was so excited to read this. But for me, no. It was such a disappointment. And I'm really gutted. But I am going to try the rest of the books. It's got some in the back here as well, a different kind of retelling. So you've got a Beauty and the Beast one, you've got that one, and you've got the Snow White one. So I am going to persevere, and I am going to try the other Disney retellings because I am such a big Disney fan. But yeah, this one was really bad for me, and it was such a disappointment. Now, looking at it from the other side, if we flip it over to a book that I did not know what I was going to think of it, and it is the Heartstopper series. Oh my god. Now, these are, I believe they're known as graphic novels. So this is all it is inside. So for any of you who don't know what graphic novels are, they're much more illustration and a lot less of the actual story. Now, I had never read a graphic novel before. I didn't know what to think of it. I had no clue at all what to make of it, and I'd seen people raving about this Heartstopper series, and I then noticed that it became a Netflix show. And at that point I thought, you know what, I really want to watch it. And I refused to watch it until I'd actually read the series. And oh my god, was I surprised. This series is just so good. It is absolutely fantastic. And I just did not see how anyone reading a graphic novel could connect to characters on such a short basis, because these books, they're not big. I mean, they look big, they look chunky, but when that's all it is on the inside, you get through them very, very fast. Now, I've got 1 to 5 here. Apparently, there is a number 6 coming out, and you can bet I'll be buying number 6. So for those of you who don't know what Heartstopper is, let's stop playing with the books. For those of you who don't know what Heartstopper is, here's a cover of when it got turned into the Netflix series. So on the back, it just says, for the first book, boy meets boy, boys become friends, boys fall in love. And you're basically following the story of Nick and Charlie, who meet at school. It's like a really cute slow burn romance. It is so adorable, and you end up completely falling in love with Nick and Charlie. You end up falling in love with their story, and yeah, this is just such a heartwarming thing. And like I say, because I'd never read a graphic novel before, I really did not have high hopes for it. Now I am completely in love with these two, completely dying to know how this all ends, how Alice Ogman's going to wrap it all up. So I really can't wait for the volume number 6 to come out, and I would like to get all of them in the collection, like I say. So yeah, they are my biggest 2 surprises of the year. The one I was excited for turned out to be rubbish. The one that I had no clue what to make of it turned out to be almost, I want to say one of my best reads, but I'm not 100% sure. It definitely was, the whole series as a whole, 5 stars. Now, if you haven't read Heartstopper, please give it a try, because despite what you think, it is such a beautiful, heartwarming story. So, the next question is your newest fictional crush. Now, I don't really get fictional crushes very often. I don't tend to read big series. I am going to start reading much bigger series. I'm very, very umming and ahhing, but very tempted to make a start on the ACOTAR series. It's very out of my comfort zone, but I'm being told multiple times over and over, it's a great start to fantasy, it's a great start to romantasy, and to just give it a try. So I'm thinking that I might give it a try, but currently I would say that the only thing I would count as a fictional crush right now is I'm currently reading a book called Summer Fridays. It's such a happy little summertime enjoyment book. So I'm nearly finished it, and there's a character in the book that Sawyer is falling for. So there's 2 characters. There's 4 there's 2 main story characters, but there's 4 characters overall involved. So you've got Sawyer and her husband Charles, and then you've got Nick and Nick's girlfriend Kendra. And basically Sawyer and Nick from the 2 couples start meeting up on Summer Fridays, which is, it's not something we have here in the UK, but from reading this book, it basically seems that some companies in America in the summer let their employees go home at lunchtime to enjoy the Summer Fridays. So each of the Summer Fridays rolls around and Sawyer and Nick are meeting up, and I've got to say, from everything I've read so far in this book, Nick is so nice. He would be like my ideal crush. He swoons Sawyer, he's pulling out all the stops, he's taking it to such fun places. Every Friday they go somewhere new, they go somewhere fun, they go somewhere where it is just, to me, it would just be like my perfect way to spend a hot summer day. So for me at the moment, I'd say as a daft little bit of a thing, probably at the current book that I'm currently reading, I'll go with Nick, who is trying to win Sawyer's affection at this moment in time. The next question on the tag is a book that made you cry. So, I cried like a baby reading After the End by Claire McIntosh. This book broke me. This book broke me emotionally. This book ripped my heart out and destroyed my soul. I know that sounds really dramatic, but the amount of times I had to stop reading this book because I was crying so hard, like ugly crying. It was such a difficult read, but it was also a very, very good book. Now, I would say that I was given this book by my mum and told that I have to read it. For those of you who don't know me outside of YouTube or don't know my personal story, I have lost 2 little girls. I lost one little girl mid-pregnancy. I was well past the miscarriage period, but unfortunately I got to the midpoint in my pregnancy, something happened and I had to give birth to my little girl. She was no longer with us. A few years later, I went on to have another little girl and carried her to term. She was born, and she was born very, very sick. She had a condition known as CDH, which is congenital diaphragmatic hernia. I'm not going into it. Google it, look it up and find out just how horrendous that is. And she died when she was 2 days old. She never came out of hospital, and because of that, it has definitely made me much more of an emotional person. I struggle and battle every day with the loss of my daughters, and this book is a very hard read if you've had any form of child loss, be it miscarriage, stillbirth, or death after birth in my case. So I would say that this book is a very difficult read, but it is very well written. So basically it is about a mother and father who have a son who is very sick. I believe it was a form of cancer that their son had, and it was a really aggressive form, and basically you watch the mum and dad battle to try to save their son. One parent wants to end the life-saving treatment, the other parent wants to keep going, and they end up having to go to a court case due to the fact that the parents couldn't agree, and the hospital deemed that this child would not survive and wanted to also end the life support for the child. It is an emotional roller coaster, but it is really well written. And yeah, so this is definitely the book that made me cry. I'm glad I've read it, and I probably won't read it again. This is likely going to be a book that I unhaul at some point. I'm keeping hold of it now because it reminds me of the emotional roller coaster I went on. I think that's why it made me very emotional, because the battle that this mum and dad had over what was the right thing to do for their child is similar to the battle that I had. Because my daughter was so sick, I was asked to make decisions about when to end my daughter's life support, and this is exactly what the parents go through in this book. So if it's something that you would be interested in reading, or if you're like me, you're a bereaved parent and you want to understand that other bereaved parents have been through a very similar thing to you, then by all means I would recommend After the End. But yes, this is a very good book, and it does actually say that she's got a few other books here on the back, so I think I'm actually going to look those books up and give them a try, because despite the emotional roller coaster of this book, I really enjoyed the way Claire McIntosh wrote the book. I enjoyed her writing style, so I am considering seeking out some more of her books, but this is by far the saddest book I've read at all. Okay guys, I know the angle has changed again. I'm really sorry. I'm struggling to keep the phone at a good angle. I'm trying. But anyway, the very next question that I have for you all is a book that made me happy. After a lot of thinking about this and going through all the books that I've read so far this year, one of the ones that really stood out to me was this one, and that is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Now, I also have the other books, which is the Cinnamon Bun one, the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, and then I've also recently just bought I think it's the Strawberry Pancake Patch, something like that. But this book had me smiling from ear to ear the whole way through. So if you haven't read this book yet, it's about a girl who inherits a cafe off her auntie, I think it was, and she basically moves to this little harbour town. It's called Dream Harbour, and there's a guy in the town who she slowly falls for, basically wins over his affection, and the two of them just fall in love, and it's such a cutesy story, and it really does make you smile, the way that these two slowly connect. And then the rest of the book series follows the same Dream Harbour series, and you learn more about the other characters that are slowly mentioned, so other couples then get their story. And this book to me was just absolutely fantastic. I loved every minute of reading this, so much so I went straight out and bought the next books, and I believe there is another book due out in this series. So yeah, definitely the book that made me smile the most this year so far has definitely been the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. The next question was what was the most beautiful book that you have bought so far this year? And without a shadow of a doubt, the most beautiful book I have bought this year is Hexed. And I'll show you why, because I live in the United Kingdom and here we have a bookstore called The Works. Now The Works do special limited edition sprayed edges on certain books, and this was one of them. So the top of it is blue, but the side, can you see? Isn't that the most beautiful sprayed edges you've ever seen? So it's just like the shell here on the front, but they've sprayed it onto the side, along with some like swirls and like what looks like the sea, like ocean. I just think this is so beautiful. Now, I haven't read this yet. I bought it on a whim because I liked the sprayed edges, but I have heard of this series. So if you haven't heard of this series, these are loosely based on Disney stories. So you've got the first one, which is Hooked, which is based on Peter Pan. This one is Hexed, and I believe it's based on The Little Mermaid, but they are not like happy-go-lucky type stories. So the main characters in all of these Emily McIntyre books, they are the villains from the Disney story. So what I'll do is I'll just read out the warning that comes at the front of these books. So first of all, this is called the Never After series. So you've got the first one, Hooked. You've got the second one, Scarred. You've got the third one, which is Wretched. Then Twisted and Crossed. And these are classed as contemporary romance stories. And the author's notes, which you get at the beginning of the book, so it comes on this page, and there is a code there you can scan to get more information. So what it says on the author's notes is, Hexed is a dark contemporary romance. It is an adult featured fairy tale. It is not a fantasy or a literary retelling. The main character is a villain. If you're looking for a safe read, you will not find it in these pages. Hex contains mature and graphic content that is not suitable for all readers. Readers' discretion is advised. Full list of the trigger warnings can be found at emilymcintyre.com or scan the QR code down below. So, as you can see, they're loosely based on the Disney series, but they are not like happy-go-lucky Disney type books. So I will get around to reading this at some point. I have recently found out that there's the other books in the series, and I've recently noticed and found out that I know for absolute certain the very first one, Hooked, is actually on Kindle Unlimited. So I am probably going to try and read Hooked on Kindle Unlimited, and then if I like the book, I'll probably buy the rest and read them all. But if they all came like this, that would be so much fun. But yeah, this is by far the most beautiful book I have definitely bought so far this year. Okay, that is just typical, isn't it? I'm trying to film a video and now it decides now would be the perfect time to pour down with rain while it has been so hot recently. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad it's raining, but if you can hear the rain, I'm sorry. I will try my best to have it not interrupt the video too much. But my next question that I got for the video is, what books do I need to finish this year? So for this, I've got my iPad and I've got my Goodreads. And it wasn't until I got asked this question, I actually realised how many books I do need to sort of like get a move on with. So on my Goodreads, I currently have 9 books that I have started and that I haven't finished. So I'll start at the bottom. As you can see, I did actually download Hooked, which was the series from the Hex that I was just talking about. And I also have a few other books. I've also got the next one in the Dream Harbour series, which is the Christmas one. I have started it, but I really, really want to finish it. And then I've got a book that everyone's been talking about. This one here, Butter. And again, I've started it, but I've literally only read like 2 chapters. So I would like to get that finished by the end of this year. And then this one is the one that I'm currently reading, and that is A Murder in the Neighbourhood. These have been quite good books. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, but the author is called Spencer Guerrero, I think it is. Really sorry if I butchered that name. I'm not great with pronouncing things. But yeah, I found his books and they're all like, they're like murder mystery books and they're all really good. I read one, I think about a week ago, and it was called My Son is a Murderer. That was really good. Quite similar to Frida McFadden. They all have like a twist in them. But yeah, I love like murder mystery and crime stories and things. So yeah, so currently I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books that I'm in the middle of. So my goal for this year would be to finish everything I'm reading before I start new books. And I've also got the 3 books I'm reading in July, which is the Summer Fridays, Happy Place, and It Ends With Us. And obviously they're my top priority. I'm going to get them finished first before I start on this lot. But yeah, I definitely need to get these books finished. So my priority is to make sure that all of these books are read before I pick up a new series and before I keep starting new books. Because I don't know if anyone else is like me, but I have such a problem of I start a book and then I'll get a bit bored, so then I'll start another book and then I'll suddenly get recommended a different book, so then I'll try the recommended book, and that's how I've ended up with such a long list of books that I haven't even finished reading. So I think my priority definitely before this year is finished is just to finish all the books that I've started, and then next year I can start reading all the brand new series and the brand new books. That rain's getting really loud. But yeah, so that is definitely my priority. They are the books that I want to get finished before the end of this year. And then the next question I've got was asked to me by my friend Roxy. Giving Roxy a shout out here. I will link her channel down below, and here's her channel name. Cheers Rox for submitting a question for the video. And Rox wanted to know if there was a book that I've read this year that had a really crazy plot twist that I could not stop thinking about. And there is a book, and you will not be surprised to find out who the author is, but I'll get that book right now. So this is so far this year the book that has had the craziest plot twist. So this is The Tenant by Frida McFadden. This is actually her new book. I'm not going to tell you the twist because obviously some of you will not have read this book or might have an interest in the book, but this book is so crazy weird come the end in a really good way. I really enjoyed this book. In fact, I was enjoying this book so much it only took me 2 days to read the whole book. I absolutely devoured this book. I could not get enough of it, and it's also, as I said before, from the works, which means it has beautiful sprayed edges. So as you can see, it's called The Tenant, and then on the edge they've sprayed like a key hanging on a piece of string. I just think this is brilliant. And then you've got the top and the bottom that are sprayed like this pink colour. But yeah, so for those of you who, again, are not familiar with Frida McFadden, she is a thriller author and a damn good one at that. I will definitely say that. So this is The Tenant. I'll just read out what it says on the back for anyone who is interested in knowing about this book. So it says, "There's no place like home. Blake Porter is riding high until he's not. Fired abruptly from his job as VP of Marketing and unable to make the mortgage payments on his new brownstone he shares with his fiancée, he's desperate to make ends meet. Enter Whitney. Beautiful, charming, down to earth, and looking for a room to rent. She's exactly what Blake's looking for. Or is she? Because something isn't quite right. The neighbours start treating Blake differently. The smell of decay permits his home, and no matter how hard he scrubs, strange noises jar him awake in the middle of the night. And soon, Blake fears someone knows his darkest secrets. Danger lives right at home, and by the time Blake realises it, it's far too late. The trap has already been set." And it really was a shocking trap. I'll tell you that. But yes, by far the craziest plot twist of the year definitely goes to Frida McFadden, The Tenant. And that now brings me on to the final question. Again, this is one that Rox asked me, and she asked me, is there a pet in a book that has stood out for me? Now, funnily enough, of all the books I've read, it's actually very rare for the characters to have pets. And if they do have pets, it's just randomly mentioned, like, oh, the cat. They don't go into any details, or they don't seem to have, like, a bond with the pets, or the bond is not spoke about with the pets. But there is one book in which pets are a very heavy feature, and that is Harry Potter. Now, I'm showing you the first Harry Potter, even though the pets are throughout the entire series. But this is the first book where we meet Harry, and he gets gifted his owl, Hedwig. And Hedwig, throughout the book and throughout all the films, is the most beautiful, loving pet I think Harry could have ever asked for. And when Hedwig dies, I don't think this is a spoiler, I'm pretty sure we've all read Harry Potter by this point, but when Hedwig dies, it is absolutely heartbreaking. But Harry had such a close bond with Hedwig in this book, and I think the pets you were allowed to bring was owls, cats and toads. I believe they were the ones you were allowed to bring. Hermione also has a pet in the book. Hermione's got a ginger cat called Crookshanks, and again that pet has a great little storyline, and that pet has a desire to torment Ron Weasley's pet, and he had a pet rat called Scabbers. So as you can see, Harry Potter is quite full of pets. There's also a character in this book called Neville Longbottom, and he has a pet toad called Trevor, who seems to like to go missing at every given opportunity that he had. So I think that's one of the reasons why this would really be the only option for a question like this, because it is the only book that I have ever read in which pets are heavily spoke about throughout the entire series of this. So absolutely, by far, it's got to be the Harry Potter series and all of the pets throughout the Harry Potter books. And that is it, guys. That brings me to the end of the 2025 mid-year book tag. In all honesty, I cannot believe that we have now gone past the middle of the year, and I am so close to smashing my reading target, which is currently set on Goodreads at 40 books. Now, I'm pretty sure I can read more than that, but I'm trying to give myself small goals. I'm currently at, I think, 32 books read, which might not be a lot to some, but for me, it feels like I'm on a very good reading pace so far this year. But yes, that is the end of the video, and I really hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Please remember to give the video a thumbs up, and if you're liking the content and you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. And I'll catch you all in another video very soon, and remember, keep on reading. Bye.